second, but the other thing that you wonder when you look around those shots in the crowd, there's so many young gymnasts here. Just which one of them will be inspired to find themselves in this very position in another 5, 10 years' time? There's no doubt there'll be someone here that'll be competing for Australia one day. There's little doubt about that. Here the men for the floor.
Hibiki Arashiki. Representing Korea, Kim Han-sol. Representing Spain, Radley Zapata. Representing Turkey, Ahmed Unda. Representing the Philippines, Carlos Edrio Yulo. Representing Australia, Christopher Remke. And representing Great Britain, Dominic Cunningham. Our finalists on women's vault.
And now for the vault. Led out by Sakaguchi of Japan. There's 2 Japanese competitors. Ogawa is there as well.
Representing Japan, Ayaka Sakaguchi. Representing Mexico, Alexa Marino. Representing Japan, Asuka Agawa. Representing Puerto Rico, Ola Mejias. Representing Uzbekistan, Oksana Chotovitna.
There's the veteran also qualified on the beam. Qualified in 3rd, Chinese competitor.
Representing Korea, Yo Si-kyung.
And she came in on top with a score of 14-4. So those athletes will now make their way out towards their apparatus, and as we take a look at the athletes that will be competing in the floor, where do you see it falling?
It's a really difficult one to choose tonight. The difficulty from all the athletes was quite similar in the qualifying round, and their final score was only 0.4 difference from 1st to 8. So it's really hard, as you can see there. It was a really tight margin for all those athletes in the qualifying day. So it's really anyone's game, and it's going to be about the landings and how they can reduce their landing errors.
Unda looked terrific. Remke's, of course, also had the highest degree of difficulty. I mean, he scraped in 8th, but the highest degree of difficulty of anyone on the floor. So he really set the bar pretty high.
That's right. He's got that difficulty there, and if he can just control those landing errors, there's 6 tumble passes, and if he can minimise those, he can get a high score.
So we'll stand by now for the start of the men's floor, and the first competitor. And this guy's well and truly inked up, Casimir Smith, and he has the apparatuses of all of them on his. There's a tattoo on, I think it's the left arm, but he's got the names of all the apparatus. It was his first tattoo. He's had a few since.
That's right, a bit unusual to see in gymnastics, but he likes his ink.
He said his sister used to do, he had an older sister who was a competitor, and she was at home teaching him to do backflips and things, and his father said, if you're going to do that, you need to do it properly, or you're doing it like a girl. And he's saying, well, I'm being taught by a girl. And he went off with his sister to the local club and had a trial, and all the rest is history. He's been competing for the Netherlands for the last 6 years. Helped them win their way through to the Olympic Games in Rio. He's 168 centimetres, 5'6", 23. And he's waiting for the all clear from the judges.
Melbourne, please welcome our first competitor this evening on men's floor, representing the Netherlands, Casimir Smith.
So you can see him starting from the side of the floor. Athletes don't need to start from the corner. Just doing a short little pass down the side before heading into the corner. Performed nicely, just a small hop there. It's a very difficult pass, that one there. Controlled it nicely. can see the athletes using connections in this routine. That'll increase their difficulty as well, so combining those two skills back to back. Just performing is a non-acrobatic skill there. It's a special requirement. All athletes need to perform at least one non-acrobatic skill. That's the landing that we want to see. Into his dismount here. Triple twist once again. Beautiful landing there. And what a great way to start off the final.
Terrific job. And one of the other things, of course, that we're getting here is we're getting the chance to see an athlete with absolutely no other distraction. One of the things that amazes me always watching gymnasts is when there's so much other things happening with so many other apparatus taking place at the same time, and the same roars of the crowd and so forth.
There you go, just seeing the replay there with the stuck landing and the full in. Well, lots of tumble passes here, so those landings are important.
He looks pretty pleased with himself, and why wouldn't he be? The 21-year-old from Japan will be up next, but you didn't see a lot wrong with that. A couple of little hops and.
Oh yeah, a couple of little hops in that after that double front, landed quite low, so the judges will pick that up. And so the hop 0.3, another step 0.1, and then the low landing, they'll find deductions there. That was probably his major error in the routine. But he seems pretty happy with it.
You sure do.
There's always that pressure of going first up in a finals. You want to put out a good routine, set the standard for the rest of the competitors coming up after you.
That's right, he's done a really good job, so. Once again, sticking the landing there. It's really difficult to land forwards from those skills that are traveling forward position because you don't see the floor as your feet make contact with it.
Overall, his landings throughout this routine looked a lot nicer, so therefore he won't get as many deductions, and that's sort of the level that you want to see in finals.
And I think we're off to the vault next. Sakaguchi will be the first of the women's vault competitors to go, but there's the list with the Korean on top, the veteran just behind. Again, not a lot separating, 14.4 down to 13.4, not a lot between 1 and 8. Sakaguchi removed their 2 vaults, with the average between the two completing the score.
That's right. We'll see the gymnasts perform the 2 different vaults. So we call it in gymnastics terms from 2 different families. So it will mean there'll be a different entry onto the vault, either a forwards or backwards, and their second vault has to be completely different. There, doing that round off onto the horse and staying right down the middle, which we really want to see. She's quite happy with that one. Here in that replay, so you can see she lands bang in the middle on that middle line, so won't incur too many deductions for going off centre.
She used every bit of that 82 feet, didn't she? Right at the back of the runway. Just giving you an update as well. Back on the floor, Casimir Schmidt, as we said, his provisional score was 13.833. At the moment, the Japanese competitor is on top at 14.5.
Massive score there. That's beaten every score from our qualifying round. You can really see how that execution paid off.
Yeah, it's going to be mighty hard to beat. There's Marino, who qualified in 8th. Mexican will be next to go with her first vault.
This is one of her strongest apparatuses, so we should see some good vaults from her. She does have high difficulty, especially on this first vault, so if she can really execute it well and nail that landing, she should get a good score.
Bronze medalist last year at the World Champs. She was the first Mexican to achieve a medal at a World Championships. And as you say, it's her speciality. Let's see how she performs.
Just chalking up there, making sure she's getting enough grip onto her hands and feet, so when she makes contact with that horse, she won't slip.
We might just go back to the floor. I'm just noticing that Hansol Kim of the Republic of Korea is just finishing his routine. So there's just a little issue with the order there. Did you have your eye on much of that? No.
Unfortunately missed most of that.
Here's a little look.
There was his dismount there. Once again, athletes liking to use the triple twist as a dismount.
And back to Marino with the vault.
the men's floor and the women's vault competitions in progress at the moment here at the Melbourne World Cup of men's and women's artistic gymnastics. We look at Ames Under of Turkey about to compete on the floor. Fifth competitor to go, the highest qualifier with a 14.266 in qualification. And huge apologies if you've had some audio disruption, haven't managed to pick up the sound fully. And also apologies if you've been having trouble picking up the scores. We're all having trouble picking up the scores at the moment. They're not actually coming through. All of the live scoring is proving a touch problematic. So in terms of who's in the lead of this competition, well, it might be an interesting wait until the very conclusion. But this is the gentleman who was leading the way after the qualification process. Showing nice control there, just a small step from Under as he tried to stabilise his landing. Nice bringing together of the heels with the toes well pointed, controlling that diagonal arm handstand. Oh, that's a real shame right at the end from Under. Hands seem to go down there for stability in the landing. That's going to be a very costly deduction indeed. Very costly.
And the scores are slowly coming through, and on vault we have from Mexico in the lead. We have Alexa Marino sitting in first place in the gold medal position.
Just having a look back, some lovely amplitude on the tumbling work from Ahmed Under, but just as it all seemed absolutely fine and secure, here's the moment where there was the problem. Did happen at the European Championships in Glasgow last year. Had a couple of big falls on floor, and he is a very, very good competitor on this piece. As we move across now to see Paola Mejias of Puerto Rico in the women's vault. Alexia Moreno of Mexico, who was the 8th strongest in qualification, leads the way now. First vault for Mejias. A lovely centre line. Not the most difficult vaulting that we'll see, or indeed have seen in this vault final, but the 24-year-old from Arroyo executing it well, keeping the feet together, the legs together as she moved over the table. Looking back now at the work of Asuka Ogawa. Had a couple of steps out on her two vaults, one to the left, one to the right. As I say, we'll do our best to give you some update on the scores as soon as possible. But for the moment, just enjoy the action. That's what we're all doing here in this event, coming to you from the Melbourne Arena, formerly known as the Hisense Arena in another life. But since Tennis Australia took control of the space, it's been known as the Melbourne Arena. It's in a lovely area of great many sporting venues, all packed in to one place, including the iconic Melbourne Cricket Ground, the G. It's right over the road. So no idea on the score for Mejias in her first vault. Catch a glimpse of it if we can. 13.566 for the first, and then the second, little stability step on her landing. Looking reasonably pleased. It is Alexia Moreno who is leading the way thus far. Mejias with a 13.566 for the first was a 10th up from her qualification mark, but as the 7th highest qualifier, she needs a pretty big step up. And that was a pretty big step out on the landing, or step out of line. Carlos Yulo of Philippines, the 6th competitor to go on the men's floor. He was the 3rd highest qualified. Great young gymnast, this 19-year-old, dynamic, exciting tumbler. first Southeast Asian man to win a World Championship medal, took a bronze on the floor in Doha towards the end of last season. A little bit from side to side, zigzagging slightly as he controlled the line of the tumbling sequence, but I mean, he really does attack it with power. Beautiful stability, lovely fluid exit from the handstand as well. I recovered that quite nicely, didn't quite get the lift up off the floor in the start of the tumbling sequence. Very stable work though from Carlos Yulo. Had a 6-2 difficulty score in the qualification campaign, so this is a real contender if the execution can match it for a podium position. Those of you just joining us as we look back and enjoy the great work of Carlos Yulo, we are working on trying to bring you some scores soon. They say that scores are important in the sport of gymnastics. Well, we're rather putting it to the test here, aren't we? Say, get a pen and paper and try to do it yourself. And if you're watching for the very first time, probably not the easiest first experience you've ever had of watching gymnastics, but I promise you there are judges, they are scoring it. We're just not showing it to you because we do rather enjoy the sense of mystery here in the sport of gymnastics. But the gymnasts are being assessed a difficulty score from 0 upwards, and then an execution score that starts on a positive 10 and works through negative deduction. I look at Christopher Remkes of Australia now. This will be most interesting. A 13.833, his qualification score, and a 6.3, however, for difficulty, the highest difficulty of any routine in this competition. But the execution, 7.633, the lowest of all of the qualification scores. And it is that age-old dilemma that all gymnasts have to battle with. How much do they push the difficulty and risk the sacrificing of execution? They're ready though here, the fans, to support Christopher Remkes, the gold medalist at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games on the vault. And he really is a wonderful individual, Remkes. He's a real role model. He was adopted from an orphanage in Philippines, aged just 2, and he really now has his heart set on going back and inspiring the next generation. He's already started to do that. Well, that was stable. Did well there and got lovely height. Goodness me, it's such a big attack. He managed to prevent the hand going right down, which would have been ultra costly. Wow. An execution, for my money, for what it's worth, is looking a lot stronger than in qualification. Nice control in the Russian vendor swing. Just has a delightful little hop and a skip as he goes into the start of his tumbling work, and then suddenly this power just flies out of nowhere. Oh, then right at the end the hand went down. He just didn't quite hit the rotation on the dismount. Oh, how costly is it going to be? Anyone's guess, because we haven't got a full leaderboard at the moment for this competition. And Christopher Remkes, there's only one competitor still to go. Well, he's a crowd pleaser, packs in difficulty, really working the body round in the twist. That's when he managed to avoid the hand going down. Some of these sequences most compellingly stable, just a small hop. That, though, a noticeable hand down. Oksana Chusovitina, the 43-year-old, one of the very finest of all time. Second highest in qualification. And one can usually rely on Oksana Chusovitina to give you very stable execution. A slight half smile from Chusovitina. So much is said quite rightly about the great legacy of Chusovitina, the fantastic work that she's done throughout her extensive career that began so many years ago with World Championship golds and Olympic gold right at the start of the 90s for the CIS, the Commonwealth of Independent States. Also competed for Germany, took a silver medal at the Olympic Games, excuse me, there. But actually, it's very easy to talk so much about what she's done in the past. Well, what about what she's still doing now? Won the Doha and Baku World Cups last year, Paris and Osijek World Challenge Cups. She is a real contender in any vault competition, no matter what the field is. And she's improved upon her qualification mark by a 10th after the first. Now, how is the second? This was the stronger of her 2 vaults in execution in qualification, maybe slightly stronger there as well. Let's have another look back at it. I mean, with Chusovitina, there's just such splendid form in her execution. It doesn't give an awful lot for the judges to take away in terms of her leg work. She gets a good clean push away off the table. Is that going to be enough for a podium position for Oksana Chusovitina? As mentioned on numerous occasions, and apologies for the repetition, but also apologies to those of you just joining us, because we are really flying a little bit without a co-pilot here, because there's no clear scoring being communicated for any of these routines. So your guess really as good as mine. Well, actually, let me rephrase, your guess probably better than mine. Many of you will be absolute experts on the mathematics of gymnastics scoring. So let us see how good your maths are, because we'll find out at the end, hopefully. I say hopefully, who's won here, as we look at Dominic Cunningham of Great Britain, the 6th strongest in qualification. The scores that you're seeing come up on your screen are the qualification performances. Wonderful gymnast, the 23-year-old. Has enjoyed great success in Australia, taking a team gold for England in the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. Opting just for the straight arm handstand, not the diagonal that some of the gymnasts have used. Lovely work from Dominic Cunningham. He's always a gymnast that gets the crowd going. If you watch the European Championships in Glasgow, you will have remembered that. He really was a wonderful competitor to watch. Just having confirmation there from the announcer here in the Melbourne Arena, who fortunately is speaking nice and loud and is seeing things that we are not seeing, certainly that I'm not seeing, that Oksana Chusovitina has taken the lead in the women's vault competition. I believe that would put Alexia Moreno down into 2nd place, but I'm going on a sort of combination of gut instinct and clairvoyancy here as we look at Yu Lin Min of the People's Republic of China, looking lovely right until the little step on the landing. Difficult vault. just 15, first senior year. Lovely to see Yulin Min making her way into the World Cup circuit. Did win vault at the Chinese National Championships last year, having only just turned 15 there. But she is a real specialist in this piece of apparatus. That 13.783, just for clarification, that is her qualification mark and her position after qualifying. So, although it is a number, don't get too excited because it's not a particularly useful one in terms of where we are at the moment. Believe that's come through as a 13.5 for Yulin Min. So a little down from her qualification mark of 13.783. Just a little moment of stability needed again on the landing. Well, there's a score coming up there for Yulin Min of 14.2 plus, so we're getting a bit of a mixture of information about the scores. Sincere apologies that I can't give you more data than that. I say more data, I can't give you any data really at the moment, other than isn't gymnastics fun? Let's just settle with that for a moment. Let's just enjoy these performances for their own sake, and then we'll worry about some medals and some positions as and when the opportunity presents itself. We still have got a couple more competitors to go on the women's vault. Sasha Kiselev of Slovenia, 25-year-old from Ljubljana, the beautiful capital city of Slovenia. And the fifth after the qualification marks were all calculated with a 13.616. Pretty comparable across the two vaults, a 13.5 and a 13.733. Needs particularly strong execution due to her difficulty not being as high as some of the contenders for the very top positions. That was nicely executed. And she is the defending champion in the Melbourne World Cup on vault. That's where she got her first World Cup gold. Second vault coming up for Sasha Kiselev. And do have a little glance to the bottom right of your screen as she charges down the runway here, because you'll get an idea of that first score. It was a 13.5 in qualifying, 13.633 for Kiselev, and that again a well-executed vault. Now, that's the look of a gymnast who's going, I'm just not sure if it's going to be enough. Oksana Chusovitina allegedly leads the way. That is if the information we're being told by the stadium announcer here is accurate information, but it sounds pretty credible, doesn't it? Oksana Chusovitina leading the way, so we're going to go with that. More updates on the men's floor competition will come in due course. Again, I might be playing it fast and loose with the notion of more updates, some updates. Glimpse there of Alexia Moreno, also has been in the medal position. She did take the lead early on in this competition. And the final competitor to go in the women's vault is Yo Seo-jong from the Republic of Korea. So the 17-year-old from Seoul. Second World Cup competition for her. Took a gold in Guimarães in Portugal last year. So a fabulous start. Can she continue? The strongest after qualification. Well executed. Couple of steps backwards. Be interesting to see just how piked she was on the landing. But it is a difficult vault. If she's credited with the full tariff for it, she went for a 5.8 in the qualification process. It's perhaps slightly piked on the landing. Not a great deal, but just didn't have that full control. She has got a little bit to play with in terms of the difficulty score. Still to come in this session of gymnastics from the Melbourne Arena. We have got 3 more medal events, followed by the corresponding victory ceremonies. We'll just keep our attention for the moment on the women's vault competition. 14.466 for the first one from Yo Seo-jung. And so, one would suspect, oh, she looks in a little bit of discomfort there. Yeah, seems to have tweaked something. Coach came charging across just to have a quick check. Let's have another glimpse at that. Again, a slightly jarring landing on both of those vaults. Much more piked that time, and just looked like her whole body took a bit of an impact as she landed, and there's a very clear, yes, that's awful to see, a real wince of pain, and he knows straight away something's not right there by the way that Yo moved off the podium, or excuse me, moved off the mat. So there is the Melbourne Arena, hosting this World Cup of Gymnastics, the first World Cup event of 2019. We've had the first 2 events take place. We haven't got any form of official score confirmation yet. Just waiting on that. Now, I might be in a position to give you a little bit more information now. Sana Chusavitna 14.2 her score. Yulin Min 13.883, although that has now just disappeared. Immediately that Chusavitna score has disappeared, so they're just doing their best to update things as we go. A very good day to you. If you've just switched on your TV and are watching the gymnastics from the Melbourne Arena, well, you're not really watching the gymnastics at the moment because we are about to have some victory ceremonies for your entertainment. The women's vault and men's floor competitions were just decided a matter of minutes ago here in Australia. The women's vault won by Yo Seo-jong of the Republic of Korea. Oksana Chusevitna of Uzbekistan taking the silver medal, and then Alexia Moreno from Mexico the bronze. And in the men's floor competition, it was Carlos Yulo of Philippines who won the event, with Hibiki Arayashiki of Japan in second place. And the bronze to Radley Zapata of Spain. Been having some issues with the scoring and the score graphics and getting confirmation of those scores. We'll do our best to bring you all of that information as accurately as we can throughout the session. Thank you for your patience. There's confirmation at last of the men's floor exercise, and rather improbably, I was actually right about it. 3 gymnasts, though, tied on 14.5. It comes down to the execution tiebreaker. There, the difficulty scores take second place to execution in the event of a tiebreak, and it is Dominic Cunningham of Great Britain who just about misses out there. Same old really for Christopher Remkes of Australia. High difficulty execution, not quite as strong. As we now look at the women's vault final standings. And what a story there at the top of the leaderboard. The 17-year-old from Seoul, the vault gold medalist from the Asian Games. She beat Oksana Chusevitna to silver medal on that occasion. Well, she's done it again. Chusevitna, the 43-year-old, taking another brilliant medal in her extraordinary career. And then a 15-year-old, Yu Lin Min from the People's Republic of China, in her World Cup debut, getting the bronze medal.
Winner of the gold medal from the Philippines, Carlos Adriel Yulo.
The victory ceremony for the men's floor exercise. Carlos Yulo of Philippines, the gold medalist with a 14.566 score. And actually we have confirmation there, Dom Cunningham, a joint bronze medalist. And there was actually nothing to separate Zapata and Cunningham in the standings. 6.1 and 8.4 for difficulty in execution respectively, so they could not be separated, and consequently Zapata and Cunningham take the bronze medals. Just on the left, Hibiki Arayashiki, the 21-year-old student from Juntendo University, Jundai as it's otherwise known. Silver medal for him in his first World Cup event. But what a display for Carlos Yulo, the gymnast everyone has been talking about for some time. And now the national anthem of Philippines. "19-year-old from Manila, Carlos Yulo, handling the occasion most impressively and securing another gold medal. And in terms of his World Cup career, it's a first gold medal for him. Had a few medals of other colours from the season just gone by, but what a step up, having been 7th in the floor competition in Melbourne last year. They talk about Tokyo a lot with this young man. So far, he is certainly handling the pressure of the occasion. There we have the confirmation of the women's vault competition. We will see the ceremony for that in just a moment. Yulin Min of the People's Republic of China, the youngest competitor in the vault competition, just 15, first senior year, but she is known as a vault specialist. Just wonder, don't you, if she's producing these kinds of scores at this stage of her career with a second vault that has a 4-8 difficulty, reasonably low difficulty compared to some of the top competitors. For those of you new to gymnastics, I wonder what will change over time as she evolves her repertoire. That's not to say, of course, that Yoseo Zhong hasn't got that potential as well, the 17-year-old. She's already posting some pretty impressive difficulty scores. And then standing in between them, one of the great vaulters, the great gymnasts of all time. We'll have that ceremony for you in just a moment. But this is an individual apparatus World Cup. And still to come, we have a few more finals today. The pommel horse, the uneven bars and the rings. And then there'll be 5 more events taking place tomorrow. For women, the balance beam and the floor exercise. And for men, the parallel bars, the vault, and the horizontal or high bar. The flags of the many nations that entered this competition have made the journey here to the Melbourne Arena. The address of the Melbourne Arena is number 2 Olympic Boulevard. We are metaphorically and literally on the road to the Olympic Games here, because the World Cup events are qualification events, or some of them, and the Melbourne World Cup is one, qualification events for the Games of the 32nd Olympiad to take place in Tokyo in the summer of next year. It's the Melbourne, Baku, Doha and Cottbus World Cup events that are used to calculate the scoring and qualification positions for the World Cup. I don't feel comfortable talking about calculating scoring at the moment because we're struggling with it here in this competition. But assuming that we do get some scores, in the hypothetical event that some marks are given to some gymnasts, then those will be used to determine whether they meet Olympic qualification. That's for gymnasts who don't qualify automatically through some of, well, I say automatically through some of the other options such as Continental, World Championships, etc. Then across the World Cup events from November of last year through to March of next year, the top 3 scores of the gymnasts on each apparatus will be worked out and used to determine if they make it into the Olympic Games. But all that does feel a little bit of a way away at the moment. We're right at the start of that process, and we are right at the start, comparatively, of this weekend of competition here in Melbourne. And it's now time to enjoy the victory ceremony for the women's vault competition. Introduction of the presentation party, always a lovely moment for them to get to share in the athletes' celebrations.
The winner of the bronze medal from China, Yulin Min.
World Cup debut for Yulin Min of the People's Republic of China, 15-year-old from Fujian in her first senior year internationally. Having impressed so much at the Chinese Championships last year, seemed to be quite sure exactly where to go there. And that's where she's going, to her first World Cup podium. Far from a first one here for Oksana Chusovitna. Won Doha and Baku last year in the World Cup Series, also the World Challenge Cup Series, Paris and Osijek. This time having to settle for second place, just as she did at the Asian Games, and to the very same competitor, Yoseo Zhong of the Republic of Korea, the 17-year-old from the beautiful capital city of the Republic of Korea, Seoul, performing with real heart and determination. Score 14.266. Her father, an Olympic silver medalist on the vault in Atlanta, and a two-time Asian Games gold medalist in the vault. And her mother, an exceptional gymnast, taking a bronze medal at the Asian Games in 1994 in Hiroshima. So she comes from an illustrious gymnastics background, Yeo Seo-jong. She says she wants to be known in her own right as a competitor, not just as a child of those two great gymnasts. Well, this is how you go about doing it, beating the legends like Chusovitna. Time for the national anthem of the Republic of Korea. The medalists in the women's vault competition here at the Melbourne World Cup of 2019. The start of the 2019 season in artistic gymnastics, but the race for the Olympic Games has already begun. It began at the Cottbus World Cup in November of last year. It's good to see there that Yeo Seo-jong's able to put a little bit more weight on her foot. She had quite a difficult landing in her second vault. Looks okay now.